I, 30 female, am the single mother of Clara, toddler female. My pregnancy wasn't planned. I had a no-strings-attached relationship with her father, Jack, 30s male, for 7 months when I became pregnant unexpectedly. He lived in another state but would visit my city monthly for business reasons, and we hit it off after meeting in a bar. We thought about our options regarding the pregnancy, but I decided to keep the baby. Jack wanted to be part of her life, so we planned to raise the baby together, but not as a couple, just as co-parents. Unfortunately, Jack passed away during my pregnancy. Jack's parents, Linda and James, knew I was pregnant when he passed. We'd already done a prenatal paternity test at the time. We were all devastated by his passing, but of course his parents were destroyed by it. Clara is their first and only grandkid, and she became their beacon of light in a dark time, as they say. They have 2 daughters, Ruth, 37, and Lily, 27, but they don't have children. Ruth has been trying to conceive for a long time with her husband, and Lily is child-free and single. Jack's whole family lives in another state, except Lily, who lives abroad. They have a family business, so their life is there, while I have my family and career in my current country, where I live with Clara. Since Clara was born, we've had an agreement. Nothing legal, but we all agreed with visitations for her grandparents and aunts. They usually visit Clara twice a month. James and Linda are the ones who visit the most, but Ruth also shows up sometimes. I appreciate their presence in her life. Since the beginning, a point of contention in our relationship was traveling with Clara to their state. They have a big property that's been in their family for over 100 years, and they have a family business too. They're treated as almost royalty in their small town and wanted Clara to experience that. I understand that it's good for my daughter to know her heritage, but I always put my foot down on the idea of them traveling with her without me. I visited their hometown 3 times with Clara since she was born, but this isn't enough. Our relationship wasn't perfect. I had some issues with Linda meddling way too much in my parenting, but we were civil until I started my current relationship. I've been dating Ted, 34 male, for almost a year, and things have been tense between James and Linda. Ted and I don't live together, and he has a daughter, Marie, toddler, who lives with him. Linda has expressed disapproval to his constant presence in my house, which is not true. Both of us work a lot, and between our kids and other priorities, we probably see each other 3 or 4 times a week. To Marie having playdates and sleepovers with Clara, and the list goes on. The woman will find a way to even comment about Ted's car parked in front of my house. Things escalated when 2 weeks ago I emailed Linda, James and Ruth an invite for Christmas Eve. Ted and I will have a get-together with our families and close friends. I decided to invite Clara's grandparents to spend Christmas Eve with her, but I also let them know that if they prefer, they can take her for lunch on Christmas Day. The next day, Linda texted me that they already had plans to take Clara to their home on Christmas. I said that this wasn't happening. I didn't hear anything from her for about 2 days. Linda called me stating she'd given me 2 days to cool off and be reasonable. I asked what she meant, and she said they had rights over Clara and they'd waited too long to take her home for Christmas. Now she's bigger and can travel without me. I said that this was never discussed and I would not let them travel with my daughter without even discussing it with me before. Linda said this was the discussion before the travel. I laughed on the call and said she was delusional. Things escalated quickly after that. I was accused of trying to replace Jack in Clara's life, and I also said some things which were a little cruel about Jack never even meeting Clara. After Linda hung up on me, James called and tried to reason with me. He let it slip that they bought Clara's plane tickets 2 months ago without asking me first. I said there was no way I'd let them walk all over me. James lost his temper and demanded that I should apologize to Linda or we would go to court over this. I didn't back down and said they were choosing to fight over this, not me. Well, after some time of silence from them, I was served with court papers. They're suing me over custody of Clara and are stating I'm unfit as a mother. I already have a lawyer who I consulted before our fight over the phone. She told me yesterday they have almost 0 chance of getting any custody. The most they can get is visitation, but still I'm worried about this becoming a legal battle. Some of my friends think I did nothing wrong by putting up boundaries, and others think it's petty and stupid of me to start a fight with my daughter's grandparents when I could let them travel with her for Christmas because I know they're good grandparents and will take care of her. Am I the idiot? Edit, they visit twice a month. They travel every month and stay a couple of days in their apartment in my city. When they're here, they sometimes see my boyfriend's car in my driveway when they come to pick up or leave Clara. Not the idiot. First off, they book tickets for your kid without even asking you. That's wild, like who does that? Clara is a toddler, not some boarding pass they can just grab off Expedia. It's totally valid to set boundaries, especially when it comes to your kid's safety and your role as her mom. The whole "we have rights" argument feels like they're treating Clara like a timeshare, not a human child, and going straight to suing for custody? Huge yikes. That's a massive escalation and probably says more about them than it does about you. Just as a heads up, I bet money they call a false CPS case on you. Talk to your lawyer about the possibility and how to be proactive before it starts. I'm sure your lawyer has already warned you to ensure childcare knows that no one gets to pick up your child but you. You haven't mentioned if you have family nearby. Consider if you have one person, Ted, that you trust to be your backup in case you run late. But also, the idea of not having Christmas together is insane. What the heck? To separate a mother from her child and take that child out of their home for Christmas, these grandparents are idiots. Also, is OP supposed never to date again? She wasn't even in a serious relationship with the child's father. Do not allow them any contact with Clara. They want custody and may just take her. They're clear in what they want. Any further communication with them will be twisted and used against you. Congratulations on your new relationship. You deserve some happiness and peace. I, male 32, have an older brother Mark, 35, and a much younger sister Olive, a teen. Throughout my whole childhood up to my early 20s, I was bullied by Mark both at school and at home. The worst thing happened when I was 19. I was dating a girl. It started to be a pretty serious relationship for our age, and I started considering a future with her. Mark sent her manufactured screenshots, allegedly from my phone and social media, to prove to her that I was cheating on her. She believed him and dumped me, not giving me a chance to explain and not checking if it was true. Why did he do it? Because he thought it would be funny. Shortly after that event, I moved from my parents, and nowadays I have almost no contact with Mark. I still see him a few times per year during family events, but I'm only civil toward him, and it's clear that we don't have a good relationship. It hurts Olive deeply, as family is very important to her, and she doesn't understand why I don't want to be around him. She recently got herself a mission to reconcile me with Mark. She constantly tries to meet both of us simultaneously, offers to mediate, asks me about our relationship, and things like that. It starts to be really tiring for me. The thing is, Olive is too young to remember what happened between Mark and me and how he treated me. She thinks that we just had a spat years ago and I hold a grudge since then, as that is what Mark told her. I consider telling her what really happened. I know that if she learns the truth, she'll stop her reconciliation efforts. However, my partner told me that I shouldn't tell her, as it may irreparably damage her relationship with Mark. And to be fair, while he was cruel toward me, he's a really good brother to her. But I'm tired of her constant poking into the matter, and I'm afraid that if she doesn't stop, I'll snap at her, which she doesn't deserve as she has really good intentions. Should I tell her the truth? Not the idiot. She needs to learn she can't meddle in things that have zero to do with her. She's old enough to know that. She's old enough to know you keep your nose out of other people's business, calling nonsense on her good intentions. It's nonsense that she would try to reconcile you by sneaking around and trying to make you meet up. Time to humble her. Of course, there's always the chance that she won't see what your brother did as being all that bad and harass you even further with this. You can decide how much you tell her. Just let her know at some point he did something that caused non-repairable damage to your relationship, but also don't let that grudge sit there for too long. There will come a day when all you have is each other. The grudge you hold does nothing to the other person, it just weighs down on you. I, 27 female, gave birth to my first child not long ago. My husband and I named her after my late mom and a favourite name of ours for her middle name. My mom died 10 years ago and using her name was always something I wanted to do. When my half-sister, 24, first heard the name, she got a little pouty and asked me why. I didn't see if she wanted to use the name instead, and she said she'd always imagined giving her first daughter my mom's, not her mom, name. I told her I'd always intended to use my mom's name, and my half-sister said my mom was the closest person she ever had to a mom, and how she was always so sweet and accepting of her, and she felt like it could have been a nice way for her to show respect and to show us she appreciated it. She said I didn't need to use it. I said I'm my mom's daughter, so of course I get to use it. My half-sister said we were all a family, and I emphasized in response that I was mom's only child. My half-sister said it might be true, but she accepted her into the family as well. And this is where I might be the idiot, because I told her that wasn't true. I told her my mom hardly had a thing to do with her. She wanted nothing to do with her but never felt good about taking out issues on kids, so she tried to be kind when she couldn't avoid her. Still, she absolutely did not love and accept her, and I told her to get real, thinking the woman who was cheated on would love and accept the child that came from the affair. I told her she shouldn't be trying to imply she had more of a right to my mom's name than I did, when she was nothing to my mom, and her child wouldn't be either. She left in tears. The background is already maybe clear, but my parents were married and had me. Mom found out Dad cheated on her, got his other woman pregnant, and divorced him. She had primary custody of me. My dad ended up with sole custody of my half-sister. My dad made every effort to still be in my life, and he always brought my half-sister when he'd show up to support me. My mom hated it. She never said that to me. But a couple of times I heard her talking to my aunt or my grandma about how much she despised seeing my half-sister there, and how she knew it was an awful thing to say, but that my half-sister reaching out for her like she would whenever Dad brought her was tough. I also heard her talk about Dad inviting her to be active in my half-sister's life, and she declined. She said she could handle it and not be mean to her face, but she didn't want to be around her more than she needed to be. Over the years, my half-sister tried to spend more time with my mom. Whether it was packing to come with me when I was going home to Mom, or her rushing out the door when Mom would pick me up so she could try to hug and talk to her, my half-sister always made a beeline for Mom when she'd see her. My mom wasn't really that warm to her, but my half-sister always seemed to ignore it. I remember when Mom died and my family and I had a private cremation for Mom, and my half-sister was so upset she couldn't come. My dad and I stopped speaking after that because he told me I should have made sure my half-sister could be there. He never discouraged my half-sister from pining for Mom, even though I know Mom told him she didn't want a relationship with my half-sister. Anyway, since my half-sister ran out crying, she's texted me and told me I was cruel and that I didn't need to crush her hope that my mom had loved her and that she'd been wanted by at least one female figure in her life. She said I never wanted to be with her and Dad, and then I never wanted her and Mom with me either. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Wow, your half-sister is projecting hard. She may have idolized your mom in her head, but that doesn't change the reality of the situation. Your mom didn't want a relationship with her because of the circumstances, and that's not your fault to sugarcoat or fix. She put you in an awkward position by even asking for your mom's name for her hypothetical kid. You have every right to honor your mom how you see fit, which is she was your mom, period. My half-sister, not my mom's, did name her daughter a variation of my mom's name. It's weird to all of us. They never had a relationship. She just saw her a handful of times over the years. My mom to this day is nice to her, but that's it. OP, your sister, like mine, needs counselling. Honestly, I blame your father for all of this. Your sister clearly spent her childhood wishing for a mother in her life, and instead of taking responsibility for his failures, your father tried to push the woman he cheated on to be a surrogate mother to his affair baby. I hope when things are calmer, you can encourage your sister to seek therapy to address how much your father's poor parenting messed her up. I, 42 male, stepbrother, 36, divorced his wife 2.5 years ago. At first, he visited his son toddler at least once a week, but he started doing so less as the months passed, especially after he began dating his new girlfriend. Now, almost the only times he sees his kid is during family events hosted at my house. I always invite his ex-wife and son, even though my stepbrother would prefer me not to. The rest of the family sides with me and thinks they should be invited. During Thanksgiving this year, my stepbrother and his girlfriend announced they were having a baby. The reaction from the family was colder than what they seemingly expected. Later, my stepbrother privately told me he was in a bad financial situation and was afraid he wouldn't be able to support his girlfriend during the pregnancy by herself as she didn't have a job. He asked me for money as he'd done many times over the years. I told him I was only helping if he committed to visit his son at least once a week again. He got very offended and accused me of not caring about his new baby's well-being. He claimed the only reason I cared about his son was because I was in love with his ex-wife and wanted to steal her from him. He says he's no longer coming to Christmas at my place this year after what I said. I feel bad not for my stepbrother, but because his son will now miss one of the few times he gets to see his dad, and all thanks to me. I think I made a mistake pushing things so hard, and maybe I shouldn't get so involved in all this, as it's not really my business. Steal his ex-wife from him? Is he delusional? Because what the heck? Not the idiot. Deadbeats don't get rewarded. What a loser. You didn't make a mistake. If you give in, he will use this emotional blackmail on you. It's not your fault at all. It's his. Sounds like it would be less him stealing his ex-wife, but his ex-wife upgrading. Deadbeats throw all these accusations to take attention from their deadbeat self. Can't believe this guy is 36. I don't know why some women let themselves get pregnant by men who abandon their kids, thinking they'll treat their child better. Listen, his son is going to miss seeing his dad because he's a deadbeat. Stop trying to push this man to be a father. He isn't one. Do not give him a penny to take care of his new family. I'm sure his ex and your nephew could use the help. Stop bailing him out. He will keep making babies and messing them over because you're there to pick up his slack. Spend time with your nephew and be a support to him. A living and engaged uncle is better than a resentful, deadbeat, inconsistent father. Right, these people are brutal to the sister, like geez, have some empathy. It's the father's poor work. Instead of shielding his children from the consequences of his actions, he thrust them onto his ex-wife, expecting her to fill the maternal void he created. This not only burdened his ex-wife with an emotional weight she didn't deserve, but also set up his daughters for disappointment and confusion.